Rain pattered steadily against the windows of West Side Café, where Chen was wiping down tables during the quiet afternoon lull. At 26, she moved with the calm efficiency of someone used to being helpful without ever drawing attention to herself. Her dark hair was neatly tied back in a practical ponytail, and though her café uniform had faded slightly from countless washes, it was always spotlessly clean. Maya had been working at the café for 3 years now, one of the 3 jobs. She managed to support herself and to help cover her mother's medical bills back home. Her mornings began before the sun rose, and her days often didn't end until long after sunset. Despite the exhaustion, she always carried a gentle warmth in the way she treated customers, a kindness that made the café feel like a brighter, more welcoming place. The bell above the door jingled softly, and Maya glanced up to see an elderly woman stepping inside, gently shaking the raindrops off a modest umbrella. She looked to be in her 70s, with silver hair neatly styled in a simple bob and kind eyes that shone behind delicate, wire-rimmed glasses. Her outfit was graceful yet modest, a navy blue dress paired with a cardigan that reflected a refined sense of taste rather than wealth. "Good afternoon," Maya greeted her warmly with a smile. "Would you like a table by the window? It's lovely to watch the rain from there when you're warm and cozy inside." The woman returned her smile kindly. "That would be lovely, dear." Maya guided her to a quiet corner table and handed her a menu. "Our soup of the day is tomato basil, perfect for a rainy afternoon." "That sounds wonderful," the woman replied with a gentle nod. "And perhaps a cup of Earl Grey," as Maya turned to prepare the order. The cafe door opened once more. This time, a group of sharply dressed business professionals entered, their loud chatter breaking the peaceful ambience. They took over a large table in the middle of the cafe, barely glancing at Maya as she approached with menus. "We need this table cleaned right away," one man said sharply, gesturing impatiently toward a few leftover crumbs from earlier guests. "And bring us for espressos, we're in a hurry." Maya nodded politely and quickly moved to meet their demands without hesitation. Maintaining her composure despite their impatient sighs and dismissive glances, Maya stayed calm. When she returned with their drinks, she couldn't help but overhear bits of their conversation. Talk of a major business acquisition and impressive profit margins filled the air. Meanwhile, the elderly woman sat quietly at her table, enjoying her soup and tea. Every so often, she glanced up from the book she had pulled from her handbag. Maya checked in on her from time to time, gently refilling her tea with a kind warmth that stood in stark contrast to the cold, rushed energy of the business group. As the afternoon wore on, the cafe grew busier. Maya moved quickly between the tables, her feet aching with every step, but her smile remained steady. She was in the middle of serving a young family when a sudden commotion came from the business group's table. The elderly woman had stood up to head toward the restroom and accidentally bumped the chair of one of the businesswomen, causing a small amount of coffee to spill onto the woman's sleeve. "Watch where you're going," the businesswoman snapped, her voice slicing through the cafe's soft murmur. "I'm terribly sorry," the elderly woman replied, clearly flustered. "Let me help, you've done enough." The woman interrupted sharply. "This is a silk blouse. Do you even realize how much it costs? Probably more than your entire wardrobe." Embarrassment flushed across the elderly woman's face as the group exchanged knowing glances. One of the men even chuckled, shaking his head. "Maybe you should be more careful at your age," he added coldly. "Or perhaps stay home if you can't manage a simple cafe." Maya, who had witnessed the entire exchange, gently set down her serving tray and stepped forward. Her heart was pounding in her chest, but something stronger than fear, a sense of right and wrong, carried her toward the table. "Excuse me," she said, her voice soft but steady. "It was an accident, and there's no reason to speak to her like that." The businesswoman raised an eyebrow. "I don't remember asking for your opinion." "You didn't," Maya replied firmly. "But this is a place where everyone deserves to be treated with respect." "This lady has already apologized," Maya said calmly. "The spill is small, and I can bring you a cloth to dab it clean." "Do you even know who we are?" one of the men asked, his voice full of disbelief. Maya held his gaze without flinching. I know you're people sitting in a cafe just like everyone else here, and everyone deserves a basic level of kindness." A tense silence fell over the table. The elderly woman gently touched Maya's arm. "It's all right, dear. I don't want to cause any trouble." "You're not causing any trouble," Maya reassured her softly, then turned back toward the group. "I'll bring that cloth, and perhaps a fresh cup of coffee on the house. Then everyone can enjoy the rest of their afternoon." Something in Maya's calm and composed manner seemed to ease the tension. The businesswoman looked away, suddenly appearing less sure of her outrage. Maya helped the elderly woman back to her seat, then brought the promised cloth and a new coffee. Gradually, the incident faded into the background as the business group resumed their conversation, though their tone was noticeably more subdued. Before leaving, the elderly woman reached out and gently pressed Maya's hand. "Thank you for your kindness today. It means more than you know." Maya offered a soft smile. Anyone would have done the same. The woman paused, her voice thoughtful. "No, not just anyone." 2 weeks went by, and the memory of that day faded into the rush of Maya's busy routine. On an especially exhausting Wednesday, just as she was preparing for her evening shift at her second job, her phone rang. The caller ID showed an unfamiliar number. "Is this Maya Chen?" a professional-sounding voice asked. "Yes, this is she," Maya replied, surprised. "I'm calling from Horizon Innovations. Mr. Daniel Reed would like to meet with you to discuss a potential opportunity. Would you be available tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Maya's thoughts raced. Horizon Innovations was one of the city's top tech companies, and Daniel Reed was the CEO, regularly featured in magazines for his visionary leadership. What could he possibly want with her? Her curiosity quickly overtook any hesitation. She rearranged her schedule and agreed to the meeting. The next morning, she found herself in the sleek, glass-paneled headquarters of Horizon Innovations, wearing her best outfit, a simple blouse and a skirt that had seen better days. She felt slightly out of place. She was led into a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the city. Behind a grand desk stood a man in his early 30s, tall, with thoughtful eyes that seemed oddly familiar. "Miss Chen," he greeted her warmly, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming. I'm Daniel Reed. It's nice to meet you," Maya replied, trying to keep her nervousness in check, "though I'll admit I'm not sure why I'm here." Daniel gestured to a nearby chair. "Please, have a seat. I wanted to meet the person who stood up for my mother when others chose to treat her poorly." Maya's confusion must have been written all over her face, because Daniel smiled. "The elderly woman at Westside Café 2 weeks ago, that was my mother, Elena Reed." Realization flickered in Maya's eyes. "She's your mother. Is she okay?" Daniel's expression softened. "She's perfectly fine. In fact, she hasn't stopped talking about you since that day." He went on to explain that Elena Reed, despite being the widow of Horizon's founder and a major shareholder in the company, chose to live a quiet, modest life. She preferred to move around the city unnoticed, wanting to see the world beyond the bubble of privilege and wealth. The business group that treated her so rudely, Daniel added with a hint of irony, were actually Horizon executives. They had no idea who she was, and she liked it that way. It let her see who people truly are. Maya listened carefully, still unsure why all of this had led to a personal meeting with the CEO himself. "My mother was deeply moved by your kindness and integrity," Daniel continued. "And honestly, so was I." He explained that Horizon was about to launch a new community outreach initiative, and they were looking for someone who genuinely understood empathy, someone who could bring real heart to the project, someone who treated all people with dignity, regardless of status. He offered Maya a position that would allow her to use her natural people skills, while paying her far more than her 3 current jobs combined. As Daniel laid out the details, Maya felt like she was living in someone else's story. "Why me?" she asked finally. "Surely there are hundreds of more qualified people." Daniel smiled gently. "Because kindness and integrity aren't things you can teach in business school. Everything else we can train for." In the months that followed, Maya thrived in her new role. She designed programs that connected Horizon with local communities, ensuring the company's support reached the people who truly needed it. Her background, shaped by years of financial hardship, brought authenticity and purpose to Horizon's outreach efforts in a way they had never seen before. She and Ella grew close, often meeting for tea to exchange ideas and reflect on their shared vision for the program. And slowly, almost without realizing it, a quiet connection began to form between Maya and Daniel, as well rooted in mutual respect, shared values, and a natural comfort in each other's presence that neither of them had felt before. 1 year after that first meeting, as they strolled through a community garden Maya had helped bring to life, Daniel gently took her hand. "My mother said something interesting the other day," he began. "She told me that when you stood up for her in the café, she knew you were the kind of person I should marry someday." Maya laughed, caught off guard. "Well, that's a little bold of her, isn't it?" Daniel smiled. "My mother's always been a great judge of character, and impressively patient. She waited a full year before telling me that." Their relationship had grown naturally, built on a foundation stronger than the unusual way they had met. So when Daniel proposed 6 months later, it wasn't because of his mother's hopes or even Maya's act of kindness to a stranger, though. Those things had opened the door. It was because in each other, they had discovered something rare and real in a world that too often prioritized appearance over depth. At their intimate wedding ceremony, Ella embraced Maya with tears in her eyes. That day in the café, she whispered, "I wasn't looking for someone for my son. I was just an old woman grateful for a kind word. The rest happened because of who you both truly are." And Maya, who once measured her worth by how many jobs she could juggle and how many bills she could pay, now found herself rich in ways she'd never imagined. Not because she had married a CEO, but because she had stayed true to herself when it mattered most.